Hi, welcome back. We're going to be working with fish or a simple fish. So there's a couple variations I'm going to show you, and you can kind of pick and choose what you like. I'm going to show you how to use some props for a more effective kind of passive variation of fish, and I'm going to show you a little bit more of a self-supported fish. So whether you have availability for props or not, you'll be able to practice this pose. All right, so we're going to be starting seated like Lainey already is, and then by taking her hands back behind her, she's just going to tuck her fingertips barely underneath her bum, kind of at the sides of her hips rather than by her tailbone, and then slowly start to fall back onto her forearms. Now, before she gets too cozy, you can see that the line of the elbow to the shoulder is in line. Where people go wrong with this pose is they shove their hands too far underneath them, and then when they lay back, you can see where the elbow and the shoulder is, and their chest is sunken in. There's no way they're going to be able to get that extension or that openness through the rib cage and the thoracic region when they're tucked so tightly. So just a gentle little tuck of the fingertips underneath the bum. The one cool thing I like to point out about this pose is it's basically Sphinx in reverse. Because the elbow and the shoulder are in line, you're trying to open the chest to the sky, where in Sphinx you're opening the chest forward. So it's basically just reverse. So kind of a nice little food for thought here when you're doing this posture. Okay, so before Lainey does anything with her upper body, she's going to anchor her lower body by grounding down. She can flex the feet or reach to the balls of the feet. She can also sandbag her pelvis to kind of create this separation or this feeling of a pull. But as she works mentally up her spine, she's going to inhale, work to arc her lower back, arc right at her rib cage, pull up through her sternum. Now, if she has any sort of neck issues, I'm going to encourage her to keep her chin tucked tight to the chest and really lift up through the thoracic. So I'm taking my first two fingers, finding the center, kind of where her bra line would be, and I'm going to help her lift through her chest so she has this great arc. If she's going to drop the head back, very slowly to drop the head back, really reaching up through the chin, and we're only going to do this one if we can keep a nice kind of openness through the back of the neck and the shoulder caps are not hunching and rounding forward. So that's a sign she's not open enough through the chest and pecs to be able to do this variation. So it may not be right for everybody. If you have any sort of cervical issues, any sort of fusions in the neck, vertigo, dizziness, that head drop back is not going to be a right choice for you. I would say anywhere from 5 to 10 breaths in this pose is probably plenty. Now there's two ways to come out. One is to wiggle the fingertips free and press yourself up, and then she could come into something like seated forward bend. Or she could have wiggled her arms out and kind of snaked her body onto the floor. At that point, maybe she's going to do something like a figure 4 or a reclined twist, a full body stretch, something to balance out the body in such a way. Okay, so now Lainey, can I come off to the side? I'm going to show you now one of my favorite ways to do this, and this is a more supported fish. So using our trusty blocks, we're going to have a low block back by the sacrum and then a mid block. Now, I just want to let you know that everybody's body is different. So the length of your torso will kind of predetermine where those blocks belong. Now, we're using cork blocks today, so I'm actually going to lay a blanket over them because they're a little rough on the edges. But if you're using foam blocks, you probably don't need that, and so kind of feel free to gauge as you need to. All right, so slowly Lainey's going to lay herself back. She's going to kind of feel that exaggeration that she had previously, and then if necessary, she can have a head support for herself to drop her head back on. And now arms open to T, which creates an awesome pec stretch, or the arms can come alongside the ears to continue that length through the lower back. I always say that the arms are an extension of your lower back. Think about elderly in your life. How often do they lift their arms up overhead? So essentially we're slowly taking away this really important reach that affects the lats and even the side body stretch through all the way up through the underarm to the fingertips. Again, same thing. She could bring a sandbag right onto her pelvis to create that nice stretch. But essentially wherever it is that you go with your arms, I want you to feel some sort of stretch. So whatever works right for you, even if the arms are maybe a little asymmetrical, because hey, you may be using your body in an asymmetrical way during the day. This is all about what you need. I'm a big fan of this variation. I ultimately, in my opinion, feel like this can be more effective because so many of us are locked up through the chest and just don't have a lot of thoracic mobility the way that we should. So this is a really self-nurturing variation. Does it feel pretty good? Awesome. How long do I stay in a pose like this? Well, it all depends on what you're doing in your class or your practice. This would be a great pose to wind down with. This would also not be that bad of a pose to even kind of bring in the beginning of class, especially when you're prepped and propped the right way, to kind of start opening the spine and really beginning to embark on an extension and opening the front line of the body as much as possible. To come out of the pose, you have two options. One, you're going to roll off to your side, or two, use your hands to press yourself up. I want you to minimize as much strain in the neck and groin as possible when you come up. Awesome. And then same thing again. You could counterpose this with maybe bound angle, or forward bend, or a twist, or maybe you're going to get up and move into downward dog, or thread the needle. Feel free to be playful with this posture. But the next time you start thinking about incorporating an extension or a back bend into the class, think about using simple fish or supported simple fish as your next variation. Great job.